Hi, I'm Laura.
I'm Lisa.
And we're Mentors for Rent. We have a question from a writer that we're going to answer. And her question is, she says she's sold dozens of puzzles to magazines that have been paid for but never published. She's also had a picture book under contract, which the publisher ended up kind of changing direction, and the editor who acquired it had left. So even though she had been paid her advance, they never published the picture book. And she says, excuse me, in fact, last summer I had serious contract negotiations, several phone calls. The publisher lawyer called in for one, and finally an agreement, only to have the publisher decide to change direction. As of December, I was told they'd be in touch in the new year, but they didn't specify which year. I haven't heard a thing. So her question is this normal to sell so many pieces of work and have them be canceled or just held and never published? Lisa, what do you think?
It's true that there's a lot of different things going on here. So for example, a lot of times magazines like to stockpile pieces so that they have things at the ready, but sometimes that can be years of stockpiling, and so you're never quite sure when your piece might appear. They don't pay a lot for them, so there's not that kind of monetary motivation to get things in print really quickly. They own them, they can do them whenever they want. There's also the reality that right now a lot of publishers are in a kind of chaotic state. Publishers are going out of business, people are losing their jobs. For example, I had a book come out, and a month later the publisher went out of business. So it was not quite as bad as nothing ever came of it. I actually had a book, but I didn't have any marketing happen. It was very frustrating. So that kind of thing is not, unfortunately, as unusual as people might think.
I had something similar happen a few years ago. My agent was in contract negotiations. They were talking about the amount of the advance. She and the editor were talking. And then there was kind of a shakeup at that publisher, and people's job positions changed. And it was the point where the picture book market kind of fell apart. And even though that editor still, I think today would say, I'm still hoping to do that project, it's been 3 or 4 years, and I don't think anything's ever going to actually happen with that publisher. So I think what has happened for this writer is it's all normal things that we encounter as writers. None of these are extraordinary circumstances. It just sounds like she has had a string of bad luck, a string of these things happen in kind of a close procession, which is kind of bad news. That's sad.
That is the bad news. The upside of this, and there is an upside, believe it or not, is that obviously publishers are responding to her work. So they're wanting to buy her materials, they're taking a stand on them, they're taking them to acquisitions meeting, they're ready to put out money. In the end, that doesn't happen, but that's actually so much further than a lot of authors get. And so the good news here is that clearly people are responding to her work. It has something that editors are looking for. That's not to be overlooked, because that's an important thing to recognize, that you're making close calls. That's something that's very important. I think the other thing that this might signal me is that this maybe is an author who's ready for an agent. We talk a lot about agents. There are pros and cons to having agents. It's not easy to find an agent, so it's not always just the magic button answer, but when you're at this point where a lot of things have gone wrong, where maybe having an agent would have at least smoothed it over or helped it go a little differently, it might be the point when you know your work is saleable to find an agent, and then they manage a lot of these business transactions for you, and you're not the one in the position of kind of going, what the heck happened? Why don't I ever have any answers to what's going on?
Oh, that's a great point. I like looking on the bright side, and I think you're absolutely right. So we are Laura,
Lisa,
and we're Mentors for Rent, and we hope you'll visit us online at mentorsforrent.com. Thank you.
Thank you.